So something that we need to keep in mind when we are creating content is that you're going to have the people that are going to raise their hands and the people that are going to walk away. Hey there, welcome back to my Epique Journey. This is Brandon DeVere. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and sharing your time with me. I do appreciate that. Here we are on the journey from 600 to 0 back to 600 plus, and sharing some things that you don't necessarily plan for, or my dad always used to say, he said it to me probably 3 weeks ago, so he still says, man made plans, God laughs, right? All the things that you plan on doing and the things that if everything worked out perfectly, what would it end up being? And so I haven't been able to. Never mind. I'm not gonna use that excuse. I chose not to put out a video the last couple days. Couple of reasons. One is the fact of where I was. I actually went to go visit a friend. So these are the things that happen that are kind of beyond your control, and you kind of get knocked off of what you're doing and doing video. And I was perfectly. I went to go visit a friend who's sick. He's got a terminal illness, and one of my friends, my entire life, I've known him since I was like, our parents went to school together. Like our grandfathers were roommates, things like that. Known him my entire life. Unfortunately, he's 43 years old and he has a terminal illness, and that's who I went to go spend the weekend with. Spend a few days there, kind of give him, an old face to look at, a different face than this what just down there, and then give his wife, some type of a little bit of breathing room, right? Because he's basically at home, and it's difficult to see one of your friends who's 43 years old. He's barely a year older than barely a year older than me, but we've known each other forever, and so it was a little emotionally draining and tiring, to be quite honest. I had all the things I was going to tell him, right? Your wish for this moment, and all the things that you're going to tell him, and right before I left, I tried to get it all out, and just couldn't get it all out. And so it was that part was a little bit frustrating, but he got the message, and it was the message that he's loved is received, and I'm putting together a video for him that's going to be pretty awesome. We had reached out, and it's about a 45-minute video of people just saying, hey, we're thinking about you and stuff like that. So that was kind of my focus for the weekend. And so I had originally planned on, hey, you know what, I'll go down there when I have some spare time. I'll just go set up. Anybody who's listened to this knows that the setup is a phone and a microphone. And at that point, I probably wouldn't even brought a microphone. It would have been the phone and either like some wireless mics or this, but that was going to be the plan. And then I got down there and I was just like more wanted to be in the moment than figuring out, what am I going to talk about today? Because maybe you do realize this or not. I pretty much all day I think about, okay, what story can I share from today that is going to be helpful here? And so I want to do my best down there to be just aware of that trip, and be their sounding board or whatever, just be there. And we sat there, and I sat in the chair next to his bed for hours a day, just hanging out, talking and stuff like that. But that's where I was. That's why I've been relatively silent. But I was having an interesting conversation with his wife, because each night, after he went to bed, we just kind of chat, and she'd get to kind of, or like release a little bit and just talk about some stuff. And she's doing an incredible job. Like I'm absolutely amazed. Coming from a household where I watched my father, basically, he bathe and feed my mom and take care of her, like 24/7. This is not quite that situation, but it is, because she's still working a full-time job and taking care of all this stuff. So very, very lucky to have her in that place, for one of our best friends. But we were sitting there talking, and there's certain things like, when you're going through stuff like going through something like that, she had mentioned to me, she said, I think it's the Serenity Prayer, and I can't remember. I should have looked it up before I started talking about it. But part of it where it was, give me, or like, give me the strength to change the things I can, and to not focus on the things I cannot, and have the courage to know the difference. And so when she was saying that, I was like, wow, that's pretty poignant. Like when when we start to relate that, like for her, it's in an actual like like not life or death scenario, but it is in a medical scenario where she's what she's dealing with. But there's also these all these outside things that can either knock her down, like break her down, or she can focus on that, or she can try and see how she can um, deal with them, or if she needs to deal with them. And that was one of the things. Somebody let me know that somebody had been posting on social media about me, and certain things, questioning integrity and things like that. And at first I wanted to respond, and then I kind of backed off, because what I realized is that I just let it kind of all unfold, and I saw exactly how content works. Like when you're creating content, you're going to get this. You're going to get people that are going to raise their hand, and you're going to get people that are going to walk away. You're going to get the loud ones out there. I mean, I probably got a bunch more on my stuff for that this person was bringing me, but I it's interesting. I'm not going to go deep into what it was, um, or defending myself in that, because that's not the point of this. The point is, like, what can I control? And as I saw a couple things, I looked at them a couple different times, and people would text me like, hey, did you see this? And so I'm looking at it, and I see like people I don't even know personally going to bat for me. And I said, this is the perfect example of, like, okay, control what you can control. Don't focus on what you can't control. I couldn't like I so don't focus on what you couldn't control. I'm not going to respond to that and get people to change their minds. They already have their minds made up, right? So now I just sort through the people. All the people, everybody who commented on there has chosen, like, they've raised their hand for one spot or the other, like interested or not. And regardless of the level of interest or disinterest, you just separated into those two spots. And so I was like, they already identified themselves. So whatever I say, like, can't change anything. So why would I focus on any of that? So I'm not going to change anybody's minds on there that have already had their mind made up. And then on top of that, you know, having the courage. I don't know. She said courage. I'm not sure if courage is the right word, because it seems a little off here. But to know which are the things that that I can change, and the things that I can't change. And in that moment, like, at first, of course, like, you want to like tell your side and all that stuff. But then eventually I was just like, this is what content does. You create content. Not everyone's going to love you. Not everyone's going to hate you. But the idea of creating content, just like this, I have people call me to ask me about Epique because of these videos. I've had multiple people say the same thing. Talk to me, or they talk to, or my agents that I have in my downline right now that are sending videos out to other people, so that's how I can help. So this is when you go to, like, attraction and you really want to start attracting. These aren't, like, people are angry at my videos, which I never reach out to them and try to get in contact with them, but they must have watched them. But that's attraction, right? Like, I'll get far less like direct. I'm not interested, right? Because I'm not reaching out individually and direct to people. I'm also leveraging or helping my downline leverage me in my videos, because I know not everybody's going to do them, right? But I'll be up here and I'll take the hit, because that's that. I'm not like any type of, like, hero or anything by saying that, but I'm just saying that, I'm okay to take, these things, and I know what's going to happen. You're going to get the people that like you, the people that don't. Like, we've talked about that before. I've talked about that with people in, podcast class, things like that. Any type of stuff that you're creating, you create for them. I have a mentor from years ago. His name's Ryan Fletcher. When I first started getting into podcasting and storytelling and all the stuff that I was learning, as far as, content creation in general goes, he was at the forefront, and he is way ahead of so many people. Like right now, like getting into video and stuff like that, or doing podcasting. Like this was 2016, 2017, when he was teaching these things. But I'll never forget one of the quotes that he said. He said, "Always create for those who will, and never create for those who won't." And so for me, it's massive, because if I go try and cater, if I start getting people that aren't liking my content, and I try to cater to that, then I'm going to try for the people that were the ones that were into it and would probably pick up the phone, or connect with me on social, because they are connecting. They're connecting with my message at that point. The other ones, like, I'm not trying to convince anybody on Epique. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I just had a conversation we have a couple of agents that are interested in coming over, but there's some interesting dynamics in what's going on, and they had a couple questions on things that we could do. And I called my partner, and I just said, "Hey, man, this is like, they're in or they're out. That's where it's at. Like, I'm not gonna try and force this one." And that's kind of where I'm at now. It's attraction. It used to be so hard, like a lot harder, because I was so, like, if I was on the phone with somebody or talking to somebody, I was like, "Oh, I gotta get it." But now, like, when you start helping your downline, and they're setting appointments as well, and now you're helping, you might not be getting credit for all of everybody being on your front line, but you're also, that's how you build, much wider at the next levels, right, than just your own. And in Epique, we can focus on that even more so, because we don't have the qualifiers, and that is, from day one, I said qualifiers are a big deal for me, because I wasn't getting the qualifiers that I needed to hit what especially in 10 years from now, I would be well over 1,000 agents and still not making, what I had planned on making. So, anyways, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. A little emotionally drained, and the reality is that when we're creating, we're gonna have people that don't like our stuff, and but the beauty of that is that they've raised their hand too. They've raised their hand that they're not interested, and that's just as good as somebody raising their hand saying they are interested, because that you don't have to focus that effort in that way anymore. So, all right, thank you for hanging out with me and being patient with me, and I will get back with you tomorrow. Have a great one.